Thanks for tuning in for another episode of Will Work for Patients, a free advice podcast dedicated to help chiropractors get on purpose and grow their practices. Get ready to tune in and turn up the volume of your practice marketing. And now, turning up the volume on his mic, big-time chiropractic advocate and your host, here is Frank Sardella.
Episode 8, here we go. How do you follow an on-air personality like that? I feel like such a rock star. Well, thank you, Michelle, for that amazing introduction. I am truly not worthy. And yes, welcome all you listeners to Will Work for Patients. Me, I'm Frank Sardella, and I'm so happy to be with you here again today in our podcast show. For those of you who don't know, this show is free for you to not only give you the marketing help you need in your practice, but to keep you on purpose, to keep you pumped up, and to keep you going. And that's my commitment in a grassroots effort to make a chiropractic world. So welcome. Wow, how about that last episode? I am still catching my breath from that one. I was totally pumped. We went a little bit over our time constraints. We went about 10 minutes over and did a 40-minute episode, but it was totally worth the invested time. I think you'll find that as well if you listen to it, or if you do go back and listen to it and you didn't get a chance to yet. I think you'll find it satisfactory that we did spend that extra 10 minutes. So inspiring. Dr. Frank Margella, our client from Nashville, he just really got in there and did it. And I was so impressed what he did with that movie Doctor. And they got over 200 people to come out to a movie theater and really spread that message out there. And he is really committed to getting other doctors doing it. And now, incidentally, because of Dr. Frank, so am I. And, I'd like to thank him again for appearing on the show, and I'm definitely going to have him back. What a fantastic thing. Any decisions that you made as a result? I mean, did you go see the movie? Did you buy some copies? Did he give you any ideas? Please let me know. Write in. We want to help you spread it far and wide, okay? So write me, frank.screenings@live.com. I can forward your messages also to Dr. Margella. He's already agreed to contact you and to discuss how we can help you really get it going in your community there. And we'd love to see you do that. I'm going to be really pushing that. We're pushing it on the social media now. I got my wife to see the movie, and she's been pushing it on social media ever since. She's just totally into it now. So everybody who sees it just gets totally inspired. So I'm very excited about it. And there was so much to cram into that last episode. We couldn't possibly get to it all. In fact, I had all these little Post-it notes of things that I wanted to add or comment upon, and we just didn't have the time to do it. And we could literally do a second, a sequel episode to that. But there is one inspiring thing I did want to mention, really, in the wake of that. And there was a chiropractor in that movie called Dr. Craig Bueller, I believe is how you pronounce his last name. And he just said this amazing thing that really got to me. He said, never become your disease, because the moment you do, you're dead. And if I got a chance to redo my last word, I think that's probably what I would leave you with, because I really thought about that over the last couple of days, and truer words have certainly never been spoken than that, and I think that's something we can all get behind. So anyway, kudos to everybody who was involved on that, and I'm going to do whatever I can to really help them really get this spread, again, at the grassroots level, and so on. So let's get on to today. Well, first of all, these are what some refer to as the wee hours of the morning. It's now 4 a.m. and I have been at this. I've just been nonstop 7 days a week, 14, 15, 16-hour day. Today, I don't even want to tally up the hours of what brought me to 4 in the morning, but I absolutely could not wait to bring you this episode. I had it ready, and I just had to sit down and record it now. We've got a lot of social media going, and our website's going now, and it's just so exciting. I just can't stop. So anyway, so here I am, labor of love, doing this for you 4 o'clock in the morning. Something kind of cool I'm working on too that I want to get you involved in. It's a new sort of photo contest. And we're really trying to hype up the social media specifically for Will Work for Patients. And I don't know if there's going to be any prizes or whatever. We may do this just for fun, but I think you'll find this fun as well. And what we want our listeners to do is show their spirit. And I'd like everybody to get pictures with their office staff or out in front of your office or whatever, and I want to see the coolest photos going. I want you to hold up a cardboard sign, and I want you to paint or marker or draw or whatever on it. Will work for patients, just like the spokes dude in all of our advertising and our logo and so on. I would love to see you guys. Doesn't that sound like a cool project to do? Have you guys just get those pictures taken and then Instagram them and get them going on your media, but also like tag us and put them up on our Facebook page. Email them to me. Also, tweet about them and mention us in the tweets, like however you're going to do it. We're also building an Instagram page now. We have one for Screening Experts. I think it's Instagram.com/Screening Experts. And we're building one for Will Work for Patients, but the thing with Instagram is you got to have photos to build it. So wouldn't it be cool if I could get you guys just sending in those photos? So please do. Please jump on board that train. It's going to be so much fun. Can I tell you, we have, and you know what I'm going to say, we have quite an episode ahead of us. I mean, what an episode it's going to be. Quite an episode. I just can't wait to get into this with you. So we're going to throw back to the last episode, episode 7, with something I mentioned in the top 10 list. Today's episode is entitled How to 2X Patients from Screenings. How to double the results you're getting from your screenings. How's that for a meaty topic? That's like meaty with extra cheese and potatoes is really what that is right there. Doesn't it just draw you in? How does he do it? Let me ask you a question. Would you like to double your results? And truthfully, I'm being conservative, okay? Because I think you can do better than 2x with this, but I'm going to ride this conservatively, and we're just going to go with 2x, because suffice to say, most of you would settle for 2x right now. And I don't want you to settle. But I could tell you can at least, minimally, 2x what you're doing right now. And 2x also depends upon your viewpoint. Some people's 2x is 4x to other people. Some people's 2x is 1/2x to some people. But this is really what I want to go for. Isn't that exciting? 2x your results from screenings. Let's see how we're going to do that. Well, first, let's see. What are we going to cover in this subject of all subjects? It won't be easy to do in 30 minutes, but we're just going to give it a go. Is that okay with you? Okay. Well, here's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about not necessarily 2x as a goal. Now get this. Not necessarily 2x as a goal, but why you're getting 50% of what you should be getting. How's about that for a shift in viewpoint? In other words, shift your view from how can I get twice as many as I am now to why am I getting half of what I should be getting? Do you see how that's a different look? Okay. Really, and sort of next is what is the general rule of thumb governing why people arrive from screenings? I think that would be a good place to start, don't you? If we're going to look at why am I not getting what I should be getting out of it? And even more importantly than that, on the flip side, why don't these people arrive? Meaning, even if you've done the best screening in the world and you've gotten really what you consider solid appointments from one of the most solid people, why would they blow off their appointment? Why did I have an experience one time where I collected from a family of three $40 deposits, $120 in cash, and have the family of 3 blow off their appointment? Blew off $120. So why is that? Okay, we're going to get into that today. Next, sort of what's wrong with your close? And is there a true close? This is the big mythological, mystical thing, right? It's the thing everybody wonders about. It's almost become an urban legend, this mysterious close. So we're going to get into that a little bit. And then there is something you need to know about this mysterious close. Whether there is one or not, there is a single closing factor that needs to be utilized at just the right time. And the timing's usually off, and I want to get into that. And we're going to talk about what the right time actually is. We're also going to cover the essence of, let's say, various wellness mindset stages. that I've observed in my experience in doing thousands of screenings, okay? And I have a lot to say about it. In fact, I have a whole sort of delineated document that we distribute with our training materials when we're training people, and I'm not going to get into those particular things, but I'm going to sort of tell you where it begins, where it ends. And I'm going to let you know that there's actually 17 stages that I've found that people go through on this subject, but you don't have to take them through 17 stages at a screening. And there's actually only about 9 stages that get them up to a point where they're ready to come to see you in your office. So, and some require all 9, some don't. So we're going to talk about those 2. And then how these govern when someone is ready to take that next step. And that next step being stepping across your threshold. How would that be? I think that would probably, if we achieved that, we'd probably have a good episode. And of course, on top of everything else, how could I forget to do a top 10 list? Just because I have to. I just have to. I just can't not do it. And this one's going to be very relevant. So what do you say we just jump in and get started with that? So here we go. Top 10 list. This top 10 list today is the top 10 reasons. Now, you just need to forgive me a little bit for how I'm going to phrase this, but the top 10 reasons you may suck at screenings, okay? A little bit crude, okay, but I'm feeling a little punchy right now. So let's get right into it. Number 10, you think you are doing a sales function. Now, I don't want to get into a long dissertation on this, but if you listen to earlier episodes, I did talk about this. I did refer to it, that screenings are not a sales function. And just not realizing that and going out there trying to be a salesman for your practice is going to make you fail 100% of the time. Enough said. Number 9, you don't think, just remember the word think, you don't think in volume. And that is a key thing. One of the key things I discovered is that your whole mindset has to be in the right place, and you have to think in volume. It's not enough just to sort of desire it and then not really think that way and operate that way, okay? So you don't think in volume. Number 8, you don't know how to pick screening hotspots. That was our episode 6. Okay? How to find screening hotspots. And there were 10 hotspots I told you about. Screening venue categories that you can categorize your different screenings in and measure them up as to how many qualified patients you might expect to get. And I also gave you the symptoms of when you're not in one of those hotspots. Okay? So number 8, you don't know how to pick screening hotspots. So if that's the case, the remedy, go back to episode 6. Number 7, you're trying to sell chiropractic and the whole philosophy. And let's face it, folks, your screenings are 5 minutes long. And you're not going to get that done in that amount of time. Okay? So you really want to not try to sell the whole philosophy, and we're going to get into today on how that can sort of go wrong. Number 6, you're acting like a doctor, not a screener. Now, there is a very important distinction that we are not going to get into in today's episode between the role of a doctor and the role of a screener. A screener is not a doctor in identity. Okay? And so there are certain qualities that a doctor has and certain things and actions that he takes and certain things he does that have no place at a screening, where a screener doesn't have those qualities. And that's where a screener is more successful over a doctor. So we turn doctors into that personality. We turn them into screenings in our coaching. But that's one of the failures. You're not acting like a doctor. You're not acting like a screener. You're acting like a doctor. Number 5, you don't know how to calculate and estimate screening results. We have a handy-dandy formula on that, and that was also mentioned in episode 6. We did manage to squeeze that in. Lord knows how we did that, but we did it. Number 4, you're ignoring the potential in appointments you don't close immediately. And this is one of the things we're going to get heavily into today, because you get what you get your appointments, and it's too easy to just stack up those surveys in your office and let them collect dust in a file somewhere. Or you enter them in the computer, never to be heard from again. So you're ignoring the potential, and there are many potential appointments still in that. We're going to get into why. Number 3, your mind is not entirely on the task at hand. Now that is a big one, and it may seem sort of like the sore thumb sticking out of these because it's sort of not related, but it's actually one of the biggest. That's why it's toward the top of the list at number 3, because I found when your head is not there, or you don't check your baggage at the door, or you have your mind on something else, good, bad, or otherwise, it actually affects your numbers. Try it one way and try it the other. Don't take my word for it. But I can tell you from experience, that's my personal experience, and we train clients that way as well. Number 2, you don't want to be there, or you're off purpose. And these two go hand in hand. Enough said about that, folks. If you're off purpose, you're just not going to want to be there, and you're going to hate this process of doing it. And the number 1 reason you may suck at screenings is you lack skill in getting a volume of people participating at the event you're doing that day. I know that's a mouthful, but you lack the skill of getting a volume of people to participate, not to come to your practice, not in appointments, but to participate in the screening event or whatever it is you're doing that day. You're doing free massages, I don't care what you're doing, that volume is missing. And that may not seem important to you, but I want you to step back and think for a minute, gee, this guy just put it at the top of a top 10 list, and this guy's done thousands of screenings. That, my friends, is something that we're going to take a look at. So, now the good news is these are all fixable, okay? And please don't take that wrong when I say you may suck at screenings. You might suck in certain situations, and this is really just to show you like the times that you did suck, and we've all had those times, all of us, the best of us have had that, that all of these things are fixable, and they don't make you defective. They're just simply a lot of things that you didn't know. There were a lot of things I didn't know when I went out and talked and screened and did all that in the beginning, and I had to sort of learn. So now let's talk about this, not necessarily 2x as a goal, but getting half of what you should. So in other words, how can we get you twice as many people, and why are you getting less than half of what you should be? Okay, more than getting you twice as many, and we want to give you sort of a general rule of thumb that's governing why people arrive from screenings and why they don't arrive. So let's really take a look at it. There is a single closing factor, okay? Let's talk about this mysterious close for a moment, because I really want to dispel any rumors that there are magic close, but also I want to dispel any rumors that there aren't a magic close. There aren't any magic closes, because there's sort of neither one of those is exactly true, because there is a close, but there isn't a close. Now, I'm not going to get into like all of the ins and outs of screening, and I'm not going to teach a screening procedure here, but I just want to sort of shift your view of this so that you can look at it better the next time you go to a screening, and you can sort of, get this drilled through your head, okay? But there is something that a person sort of needs to pass through. There are these stages that they need to pass through that I've discovered. And let me tell you the essence of them, okay? We call it the wellness mindset scale in our coaching. And really all it is I just said, what is the bottom of the barrel and the top of the heap that I've seen in my travels in chiropractic after all these years? And literally, I really had thousands of things to sort of relay and look over and look through my posture screen on my iPad and sort of look at the screenings I did and whatever and look for, common things in people. And I have a great memory for just about everybody I've ever screened. I can look at a picture of somebody and go, oh yeah, I remember that guy. It was at that event, right? And so here's what I did. I sat down one day and I said, let me see if I can figure out the different stages of sort of mindset or attitude that people had sort of toward this subject it all immediately laid out for me, and it was very, very simple. I'm going to give you the bottom and the top, and maybe I'll let you sort of do a little thinking about it and fill it in for yourself on what you've seen. And I don't know if you'll have seen all 17 of them, but you may get a bunch, and it may actually just catapult you forward just enough to make at least that 2x that we're looking to get. But these stages are as follows. I found the person at the bottom, and tell me you haven't seen this person. I would say he's in oblivion, meaning that on this subject, like, he just has no clue about health or anything. He's just totally clueless. Now, it's sort of a rare bird these days because a lot of people are pretty aware and what have you, but this person would just know absolutely nothing, not even be thinking about it, not having an inkling. He might even be like in a non-optimum physical condition, which he usually is, but not even be aware of that. I mean, this guy is just, I call him oblivion. Right? He's just sort of out there in oblivion, and he's just, I don't know what to call him, okay? Oblivion. And then I thought about it, and for a while I thought the top of this would be a person who lives a wellness lifestyle. And I was wrong, because I thought about it, and then finally I was thinking one day, and I'm like, okay, lives a wellness lifestyle. And I said, you know what? There is a state above it, because you, your staff, all of us, your best patients that you have, the patients who refer, people like me who are in like mega referral mode, people like you who are just trying to get everybody under care and went to school and made it your life's work, right? There is a stage above living a wellness lifestyle, and that's getting others, or at least desires to get others, to achieve wellness. And that is a key factor. So you have the very tippy top, and then you have the very bottom. So oblivion all the way up to wants others and helps others to achieve wellness. Okay? And that right there is sort of like the $1 million item. Okay? Not to sort of make it anticlimactic in this episode, but you really need to sort of understand that to really grasp how you're going to sort of 2x and what this concept is. Okay? Because I'm really building up to something even more important than that. But do get that. Okay? From oblivion all the way up to the top, achieves wellness. Now, you don't need to get somebody, I beg your pardon, not achieves wellness. I meant helps others to achieve wellness. And you don't have to. Think about it. You don't have to get someone to that level to get them to come to your office. And the purpose of a screening is to get someone to come to your office. It's not to sell them on chiropractic. It's not to do any of that stuff. And this is why I finally found some disagreement with some scripts I've done before and whatever, because I found sort of the dividing line between what you need to do at a screening and what's reserved for in-office. So there are several stages that a person goes through, and I found 17 steps, including the oblivion and the helps others to achieve wellness. And I found that there's only about 9 of them, and when you get to around that 9th step, that's a person who's primed to come into your office. And that's something you really need to look into and know. But it's something that if you take a look at, you probably could improve it just by hearing those words from me, just by taking a look at it, okay? And again, we go through all the 17 stages. It's not something, I don't want you to get the idea that you have to memorize, but once you see it, you get it, okay? But I'm going to give you this much of the concept because I think you'll get it enough to get some better results. And right now what we're here to do is give you a boost. So let's take a look at that. Now, so there are 17 of them. Now, different people are at different stages. Did you ever notice that you meet some people who are pretty enlightened and who are like ready to come in and ready to pop? You meet some people either at a screening, or I don't care if it's at a party or at the deli. You meet some people and they're just ready. That person right there who's at that sort of stage 9, let's say, okay, that 9th stage, whatever it is, that's the person who just phones up your office out of the blue, ready to come in, and then they show up. That's that person. They're sort of in that mindset. And the people who you come home with, right, you did 100 surveys at the screening, and you had 10 appointments, and you come home with 90 surveys, right? Those 90 surveys are people who are below that stage. And that's the idea that I want you to get from this, that there are different stages and different people are at different stages, and you can move them along those stages, but some of them you're not going to be able to move them through all 9 in one 5-minute screening. It's just not going to happen. However, you need to take a new viewpoint from there. And this is where we're going with it. Because these govern someone who's ready to take their next step. Okay? So that's definitely what the whole crux here of the situation comes down to, a mindset of someone who's ready not for chiropractic care but to come to your office. And that is the key distinction that we've made in our coaching and what I'm imparting on you now. So that being said, what can you do with this? Well, what you can do is you can realize there's value in something. Because where does this 2x come in? Now you're like, all right, where does this 2x come in? How am I going to do something with this and really like make this 2x out of that? So what? So there are these stages, and so I notice them. It doesn't make me, now I understand why they're not coming in, but it doesn't make me any more able. But yes, it does. Because I want you to take a look at one thing. The people who are not ready to come in and you're not going to be able to get done in 5 minutes, the only thing about them you need to know is they will require, they're not duds, in other words. they just require more than 5 minutes to move through those stages. And different people are just different. They have different personalities, they have different experiences, they have different injuries and illnesses, they have different attitudes, different upbringings, different things they've heard. I mean, all kinds of things that make them unique, each individual. So you have to realize that these people that you see that don't close at the screening are simply not duds. They're not done. And neither are you, for that matter. And that's the main point of what I want you to learn today, is that you have to realize these different stages exist, and that you need to get a person to that threshold where they're ready to cross your threshold. And sometimes you can do it in 5 minutes, and those are the appointments you make at the screening. And sometimes it may take more than 5 minutes, like an hour or 2 hours or 2 days or 2 weeks or 2 months. And that it's not over after the screening. And those people can still become patients. And the people who are doing that and that realize that, minimally are doing twice what you're doing at the screening, minimally. And if you think about it for a moment, you can do way more than 2x. All right, let me recap that a little bit, okay? Because even though it seemed quick, it is a lot to cram in. There are different stages of mindset that people go through that I found in terms of what when they're going to take the next step, let's say, on their health. And those stages have sort of a midpoint, okay? Because they go from oblivion all the way up to a person who helps others to achieve wellness, and there is a sort of a midpoint there. And about 9 steps into those 17, the person is ready to be quote-unquote closed, and that's where your close comes in. And a close can still happen when you don't quote-unquote close them at a screening, because the ones you didn't close are not up to that stage yet, and they're going to require more than 5 minutes. And that's what I want you to take away from this, that those surveys you bring home with you need to be followed up on. And you need to take those and continue to either screen those people or promote to those people or do whatever you need to do to get them to that next stage. Now, can this be overdone? Yes. You go beyond and you go to stage 10 or 11 or 12 or whatever, you've now taken them too far and you're never going to get them in the door. But that's the subject of an entirely different episode. Right now, what I want you to see is that you have value in the surveys that you took away and the people you didn't close. Okay? I'm not discounting the not qualifieds, but if you work in volume, as we were talking about on our top 10 list, thinking in volume, working in volume, if you're working in volume, you'll be able to make up for in volume what you're not getting in quality. And if you're choosing screening hotspots, like we discussed in an earlier episode, then you're getting a lot less unqualifieds and a lot more concentration of qualifieds. And if you work in volume and you follow this principle, you will automatically 2x. Okay. The last word. Who gets the last word? I do. After all, it's my show. What should you take away from today's podcast? Let's discuss that for a second. If anything, I hope that you take away a different look about face-to-face marketing, or word of mouth, so to speak. Okay, perhaps you'll finally see that there's no waste at a screening. Those who didn't close are just 1 inch closer to being patients, and that throwing away or discarding or casting aside like surveys that contain their info, is in fact giving up on someone that you inched toward your office, and that not only is it valuable to follow up with, but it's sort of your responsibility to do it. You started it. It's like telling someone there's a cure for their disease without talking them into getting the cure. Did you ever notice how some people need to hear things a few times before they get it? Did you ever notice that? I'm sure you did. If you have children, you probably notice that. But did you notice adults really as well, right? So I hope you can realize that in this case. And that's the final word. And if I had to sum it up in sort of a phrase, I'd say follow up and finish the job. And you will 2x your screening results. Okay. Now, remember what I said in an earlier episode, and I mentioned this in episode 7. Wouldn't it be amazing if we could look back on this moment and say, here's where it all changed, right? And I could have that moment with you. Let's do that with this. I mean, I hope you're going to be better at hiring those CMAs and getting the 1 new patient a day and expanding that figure to 5 or 10 or 15 new patients a day, and then getting them to realize that they need to finish the job with all of them. Okay? Every single person that you ever approach, get the idea you need to finish the job. Even the worst qualified guy will someday be qualified. So let's work together. We'll make this a memorable moment that we all look back on, shall we? Enough said about that. Our next episode, well, we're working on a pretty big surprise guest, but there are about 3 in the works close to completion, so we don't really have an answer on that yet. But although I don't have an answer, I know that you will love these episodes. I assure you of that, and I promise you of that. And that's my goal, and I'm going to make that happen for you. I will work for patients. Will you? Send in your stories of things you're willing to do for our future top 10 list. We want to make a future top 10 list of 10 things people are willing to do or did to get patients into their office. Okay? So that sort of goes hand in hand with my new campaign with the pictures. And please do show us your pride and your spirit. Take some pictures of you with a cardboard sign that says, "We'll work for patients." Maybe stand by the side of the road. Just don't get run over. And send in those pictures. Have it with your staff. Have it with patients. I don't care. And get it written in, post it on our social media, and do it sort of just like our spokes dude looks like in all the pictures in our logo. Let's go grassroots with this, shall we? Any brave volunteers for Doctored Movie Project? I really want to have some volunteers for that, and we really want to help you do that. So please write in, Facebook us, go to willworkforpatients.com to get on all our media for that info. Please help us build that Instagram with your photos. Free resources. I just want to put one more plug. I know we're going over time here, but I really want to plug. I haven't plugged it in a few episodes. The free resources that we have. We have YouTube and our blog. There's a YouTube site. If you go to Willwork for Patients, screeningexperts.com actually has it. At the bottom in the gray area, you'll see free resources, and it'll say the YouTube site. There's 2 great videos up there. One of them defines chiropractic, and they're beautifully done. They don't violate any of our principles. They follow all of the things that we preach. We do practice what we preach. And our blog, chiropracticmarketingadvice.com, you can get some free advice there. Please continue to listen, subscribe, download. Android users, we have a new app that we found that we like even better than the other one we've been recommending. I believe it's called BeyondPod. There's a link to it on willworkforpatients.com. When you get there, make sure you like us on Facebook, +1 us on Google, at least tweet us, and then when you get to Twitter, follow us. We don't have a follow button on there, but I will add that. All those links are on the website. But you can certainly also go to facebook.com/willworkforpatients and twitter.com/WW4P podcast. Okay? This is a grassroots effort to build an audience that will go and make a chiropractic world like we all want. Okay? And that's what I'm going to leave you with. So, my friends, we've come to the end of a pivotal episode. Thanks very much for tuning in. On behalf of myself, Michelle, our announcer, and the rest of the Screening Experts crew, I'd like to personally thank you for joining us, and we'll see you shortly for yet another riveting episode of Will Work for Patients. So long.
Be sure to subscribe and share. Will Work for Patients has been brought to you courtesy of Screening Experts, bringing unscripted simplicity to chiropractic marketing complexity. Today's episode, copyright Screening Experts LLC, musical score composed and arranged by Frank Sardella ASCAP. For more information, visit screeningexperts.com.